Thank you for joining the online reading session of the book The Modern Mission of Srila Prabhupada. So now we'll start reading, and before reading, we will offer our humble prayers. Om Adhyanathmirandasya Jnananjana Chakshuramitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaः. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Virishtandu Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Namane Namo Vishnu Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Gam Karati Vachalam Mangalam Nayati Vande Shri Guruve Gaurachandra Radhika Tatale Krishna Krishna Bhaktai Bhaktai Bhakti Shai Swadhani Lakshmi Jasyas Tamrasimam Bhajet Yonta Pravisha Machumam Prasiddham Sanjeeva Yatekla Shakti Daraswadam Nyam Chasta Charanashmat Pranam Bhagavate Purushaya Ishwar Harivanya Krishna Chitta Vachinta Sara Prabhuvachana Sukhabdo Manjay Samsa Vishwa Okay. Okay, Shyam Swarup Prabhu, you can read from here, especially for newcomers.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Especially for
Do you
newcomers.
know?
Yes,
Do
Prabhu.
you know the page number in the book?
No, Prabhu. I follow
You
the
don't have the
screen. So
physical copy.
I have the book, Prabhu, but I usually follow the screen.
Okay. Okay, no problem. Okay, continue.
Okay. Especially for newcomers, Srila Prabhupada was usually most encouraging and would overlook many discrepancies in order to help them with their first faltering steps toward Krishna. When in 1967, Srila Prabhupada asked some disciples what time they rose, uh, what one answered 5:30 a.m., another 6, and a third 7:30. They expected some admonishment, but Srila Prabhupada responded, "Well, at least there is improvement. You used to rise by 11:30." Also, circa 1967, the mood in San Francisco was a lot more relaxed than in New York, almost a little different brand. Like they would go to the corner and have their coffee and donuts. But Prabhupada loved the way that the people were coming. From the beginning, we have had these two sides: those who strictly follow the rules and regulations and emphasize purity, and those who are not so concerned about the strictness but try to spread it as widely as possible. Prabhupada was so great, he embraced both. In his unprecedented and unimagined ministration to Westerners, Srila Prabhupada was exceptionally lenient with his early followers. As Shrutakirti Dasa lauded, only you could be so strict in presenting the process of Krishna consciousness to us, and at the same time be so lenient in accepting the many bad habits your American and European disciples had as they gradually purify themselves. In doing so, he invited criticism, yet he continued undaunted. Prabhupada said that his own god brothers and every sannyasi in India criticized him for holding Brahmana and sannyasa initiations in the West, for installing deities there, and for allowing women to live in the temples. He then said that for all that, he was expanding Krishna consciousness, and for all their strictness, the others were doing nothing. In his quality of mercy, Srila Prabhupada was like Nityananda Prabhu, especially with senior disciples who had done much to spread the movement. Srila Prabhupada was willing to repeatedly forgive even serious misbehavior. Giriraja Swami wrote, Lord Nityananda is most merciful, and you manifested the same quality of mercy as Nityananda Prabhu. In Bombay, you received a phone call from the temple president in Calcutta, who reported that one of your earliest disciples from America had come to Calcutta and was smoking ganja, marijuana, and asked what to do. You instructed your secretary to relay your response. Quote, tell him that if he doesn't stop smoking ganja, I will reject him. Unquote. Afterward, Tamala Krishna Goswami asked, quote, is it true that if he does not stop smoking ganja, you will reject him? And you said, quote, no, I cannot reject anyone. The mercy of Lord Nityananda has no limit. Unquote.
Prabhu, 1 second. Prabhu, 1 second.
Ah,
Yes, this particular thing I forgot. Oh, aha.
yes, bro.
Yes.
Then, maybe 2 years later, we were in Juhu and you had a disciple who fell into bad company and was living on Juhu beach with a bogus so called yogi and doing tricks. He was putting a coin in one ear and then making it come out the other. Different strange things to collect money, and he was known as your disciple and as a member of ISKCON. Tamala Krishna Goswami approached you and said, quote, this is happening and he is giving you a bad name and giving ISKCON a bad name. You should reject him. Unquote. And again you replied, quote, I cannot reject anyone. Unquote. Tamala Krishna Goswami asked, quote, but don't you have to draw the line somewhere? Unquote. And again you said, quote, the mercy of Lord Nityananda has no limits. Unquote. Once some leading disciples submitted to Srila Prabhupada the valid complaint that another leader was repeatedly misappropriating, squandering, and losing large sums of ISKCON's money and beseeched Srila Prabhupada to stop forgiving him so this could not happen again. Srila Prabhupada replied, he has come to me with great feelings of remorse, begging for forgiveness. It is my business to forgive. That is my duty to forgive. I will forgive him again and again and again. I will never give up forgiving. One soul is worth $1 million. Yet, from another perspective, Srila Prabhupada's lenience was not unlimited. His ritual and cultural flexibility and gradualism had distinct boundaries. When some early followers told him that Americans don't like to hear that sex is meant only for conceiving children, he replied, quote, I cannot change the philosophy to please the Americans. Unquote. Another example, he objected that some devotees, when going out of town for a few days, left their pet cats in the Second Avenue storefront, even though the cats were caged. Furthermore, although in one sense Srila Prabhupada's tolerance toward his young disciples was unlimited, he limited it to protect his society. The rationale behind much of Srila Prabhupada's lenience was revealed to an Indian disciple in Bombay who expressed difficulty in working with the Western devotees. Srila Prabhupada explained that one should expect to get kicked sometimes when milking a cow. He said that the foreigners were doing so much service and that their kicks must be tolerated because we want the milk. Overall, Srila Prabhupada's lenience was extended only as far as it facilitated bringing neophyte devotees nearer to Krishna. However, he never condoned violation of the regulative principles by initiated devotees and could be scathing about transgressions. For those devotees who prefer to remember Srila Prabhupada's leniency rather than his strictness, Bhurijana Das, who had been the recipient of Srila Prabhupada's tough love, warns in a section of his writing called, quote, Real or Imagined Prabhupada. Prabhupada was mellow and his association was sweet, but please do not imagine that the Krishna consciousness movement spread throughout the world by this alone. Prabhupada also strongly and continuously pushed his disciples and insisted that they strictly follow the rules and regulations and sacrifice everything to satisfy the desires of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada, as he himself said, was, quote, 90% liberal, unquote, but that other 10% was strict. Vrindavana, 1975. Prabhupada was a difficult taskmaster. A Vaishnava is said to be as soft as a rose and as hard as a thunderbolt. But Prabhupada began showing more the thunderbolt side of his personality. Sometimes a neophyte's conception of the spiritual master is that he must always be peaceful and pleased with everything that happens, and that this is a sign of his being situated in transcendental consciousness. Srila Prabhupada, however, demonstrated many moods, including anger. A sincere follower of Srila Prabhupada will not consider only his lenience to be his mercy, but will wholeheartedly accept his mercy in the form of the standard regulations that he prescribed as necessary for spiritual advancement. In other words, those who want to be benefited will be more eager to follow his instructions rather than indulge in the licenses he gave. His liberality and lenience should not be taken as an allowance for unbridled looseness and compromise. To guard against this tendency, Srila Prabhupada at one stage proposed to boil the milk, and he increasingly warned against deviations and unnecessary adjustments and innovations. He never stopped emphasizing the seriousness of Krishna consciousness, and he never relaxed the basic standards for initiated devotees. Still, even while stressing the essential practices, he cautioned about being repressive. As in a letter to a leader, please institute these most important points of attending Mangalarati and chanting 16 rounds. These are the most important points of the Krishna consciousness process, but make it so that people may not think it too repressive. So they will not go away. Impressive, not repressive. That is the system. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Should I continue?
Mm. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
I'll request you to repeat. Atindriya Prabhu, you can read.
Yes, Puja, Hare Krishna. Dhanavad Prabhu.
Pranam. Pranam.
Courage, mettle, and adventurous spirit. True to his name, Abhacharan, Srila Prabhupada was exceptionally courageous. Had he not been, he could not possibly have done what he did, as he explained while discussing an ancient from his childhood. Sorry, an incident
An
from his
incident.
childhood. Yes, Prabhuji. Srila Prabhupada, The Victoria Memorial was built in memory of Victoria. It was done imitating the Taj Mahal. It took 20 years. When it was being constructed, I went to the top by crossing the scaffolding. Brahmanand, you must have been very brave. Srila Prabhupada, yes, I am still brave. Otherwise, how could I come alone to preach Krishna consciousness? I am still brave. Devotees, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, some astrologer said this boy, for executing his purpose, will will enter into fire. Recently, in our Bombay affair, it was a fight with fire, and we have come out victorious. Srila Prabhupada was truly adventurous, forward looking, and courageous. His childhood Rath Yatra is publishing back to Godhead magazine during World War II when there was a restriction on paper, starting the League of Devotees in Jhansi, writing and publishing the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam with the Bhaktivedanta purports, getting a free passage on the Jaladut, and leaving India for the first time at the age of 68 with practically no money, not knowing anyone, not knowing what would happen, all attest to his determination in the spirit of Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Ikiha Kurunandana. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. Bhagavad Gita 2.41. Especially in the early days of his Western activities, Srila Prabhupada often Srila Prabhupada often referred to the preaching attempts of himself and his disciples as a great adventure. For instance, my great adventure for preaching the message of Rup Raghunath in these parts of the world. One instance of Srila Prabhupada's courage. In Calcutta in 1971, communist terrorists, envious of ISKCON's hugely successful Pandal program, warned, "Fly or die," and threatened to burn the Pandal, which was packed with thousands of devotees, thousands of attendees. Srila Prabhupada, however, refused to be intimidated. He would not fly. Even if they were to attack him, he said, "What better way for a Vaishnava to leave his body than while preaching the glories of the Lord?" Fighting spirit. Should I continue, Prabhuji?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Fighting spirit. Srila Prabhupada was a fighter, knowing that this is a world of fighting. Srila Prabhupada never exhibited timidity or reluctance in spreading Krishna consciousness. Throughout much of his life, Srila Prabhupada struggled against the indifference of his wife and children. Even to leave India, he had to overcome more indifference, plus disbelief and governmental red tape. He landed in America a lone fighter, armed with the sword of knowledge. After taking stock of the battle ahead, he proceeded to hack at the worldliness that epitomized America. Along with his commitment to present Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada decried everything in the world that did not clearly support this conclusion. He stood against cheating swamis, bogus incarnations, the paths of karma, jnana, and yoga, demigod worship, smartism, mayavad, sahajiaism, mixed devotion, the bodily concept, the bodily concept of life, rising later than 4 in the morning, and indeed anything less than pure devotional service to Krishna. He stood against slaughterhouse education and the grossly materialistic build and break society. He opposed free sex, contraception, abortion, feminism, and other dogmas promoting artificial egalitarianism, homosexuality, and even heterosexuality, not meant for producing Krishna consciousness children. He berated the United
Krishna
Nations.
conscious children.
Sorry,
Krishna
Krishna
conscious
conscious.
children.
Yes, sorry. Krishna conscious children. He berated the United Nations when no one else dreamed to do so. He exposed those who claimed to be gentlemen simply by wearing a suit and tie. He spoke against meat eating, communism, complacency, the mechanized consumer society, modern city life, cruelty to trees, and the falsity of the theory of overpopulation. He dispelled the illusion that anyone can be happy by any means other than pure devotional service to Krishna. He was for Krishna only and against anything conceived without relation to Krishna. Taking chastisement of rascals to be a pleasure sport, Srila Prabhupada clearly enjoyed fighting for Krishna. The more he was attacked, the more energized he became. He loved a good fight. He struggled for years to take legal control of the property in Juhu, Bombay, outfoxing the wily former landlord. On the night that he finally succeeded, after the signing of the documents, he exclaimed, "It was a good fight." Srila Prabhupada never gave up fighting for Krishna. During the summer of 1976, his health became so poor that his leading disciples pleaded that he curtail his touring and take sufficient rest. Srila Prabhupada responded, "I want the benediction to go on fighting for Krishna, just like Arjun. No matter what the circumstances, he would never give up. He was a warrior for Krishna. Whatever it took, it didn't matter. He would do anything for Krishna. Like a military commander who continually tours the field of operation. Srila Prabhupada had the word camp printed on his letterhead, after which would be written his current location. Example, Camp London. Srila Prabhupada instilled this martial spirit in his disciples also. Harish Shauri Das stated, "I do not recall him ever encouraging us to be peaceful or tranquil. Rather, he made frequent references to fighting a war with Maya."
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dhanapad.
Thank you. Shamakund Prabhu, please continue. Dynamism and expansiveness. Please read loudly and clearly.
Dynamism and expansiveness. Srila Prabhupada was unstoppable. Every day, every moment, every ounce of his energy was focused into spreading and establishing the Hare Krishna movement. He would go from one temple, fly halfway around the world, and do it all over again and again and again, just totally dedicated to the order of his Guru Maharaj. Resultantly, the movement was on fire at that time. Srila Prabhupada's potency permeated everything. The fact that he was on the planet created these unbelievably ecstatic kirtans wherever you went. The austerities that we performed brought us so close to him. We knew that he was with us. The whole mission was vibrating with that energy, and there was a tremendous solidarity one felt with other temples, never resting on his laurels or satisfied that enough had been done. Srila Prabhupada was characterized by his ever increasing plans for spreading Krishna consciousness. He stated, "This is our philosophy, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. It means to expand or to increase." In 1976, he wrote to all GBC members, "Over the past 10 years, I have given the framework, and now we have become more than the British Empire. Even the British Empire was not as expensive as we. They had only a portion
Wow.
of the world, and we have not completed expanding. We must expand more and more unlimitedly." As the movement developed further, Srila Prabhupada's disciples became increasingly confident in his vision of a Krishna conscious world. They were supercharged with amazement and excitement in the leaps forward that the movement was making with Srila, Srila Prabhupada as their commander. However, along with pushing his disciples to do big things, Srila Prabhupada warned about too much, that is, unsustainable expansion. Alexander the Great could not maintain his empire. Suppose I conquer Bombay and go to conquer Karachi, but in the meantime, Bombay is lost. That was Alexander the Great. The British Empire also could not manage everything. Too much expansion. I am stressing therefore book selling, not opening temples. Don't make me Alexander the Great in my lifetime. People have recognized I am great. Don't make me small. And while thinking big, Srila Prabhupada never forgot the small. While his big plans animated his disciples, his palpable concern for every individual who he came in contact with, and especially for those who did even the smallest service for him, endeared him to them. Thus, in both ways, by his bigness and his smallness, he nurtured the faith of his disciples. Sense of urgency. When Srila Prabhupada first established his mission in the West, he was already, as the each village other noted, 1 year past his allotted three score and ten. He often told his disciples, I am an old man. I may die at any moment. Srila Prabhupada carried with him that urgency of limited time into his preaching. He said, I am an old man, and there has already been warning. But before I leave this body, I wish to see some of you very strong in Krishna conscious understanding. Srila Prabhupada was in a hurry. He knew he did not have much time. I can give you the idea, but I will not live very long. If you can carry it out, you can change the whole world. However, the urgency that poured from his heart and is practically palpable in his japa and sankirtan, in his writings and his lectures, was not only due to limited time. It was the natural mood of a Vaishnava preacher, an intense desire to engage everyone in loving service to Krishna. Without Krishna consciousness, the bewildered conditioned souls of Kali Yuga are all heading for the horrible consequences of their sinful life. Srila Prabhupada's sense of urgency, therefore, was an expression of his compassion. He wanted to save the gross materialists who were blind to the existence of the soul. If they wasted their human life, they would have to suffer terribly for millions of years before getting another chance to awaken their Krishna consciousness and go back to Godhead. While in the beginning, Srila Prabhupada patiently established a robust foundation for his movement, investing time and energy into training his early disciples. He was transcendently impatient also. As soon as he saw that some of his disciples had imbibed the basics, he sent them around the world to bring Krishna consciousness to places where it had never before reached. Srila Prabhupada conveyed to his disciples an intense sense of urgency for propagating the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world, and he pushed them both to be Krishna conscious, to unreservedly surrender to Krishna without delay, and to deliver Krishna consciousness to others. Pulsating throughout his writings is a sense of mission and urgency. The first words of his preface to Srimad Bhagavatam address the present need of human society, which he pinpoints as the re-spiritualization of the entire human society. He concludes the preface by quoting Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.11. referring to literature, which is a transcendental creation meant to bring about a revolution in the empire's life of a misdirected civilization. In his later works, composed when his mission was well underway, Srila Prabhupada directly and frequently refers to ISKCON and its aims. His purpose to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the original text of which elaborately discusses Lord Chaitanya's personal teaching and the Lord's desire that the entire universe be delivered to Krishna consciousness, especially highlight issues concerning the preaching work of ISKCON. His statement, I want to spread Krishna consciousness everywhere at once, epitomized, epitomizes Srila Prabhupada's expensive, urgent preaching mood, which distinguishes him from other contemporary Vaishnava preachers and even from most previous acharyas. Patience,
Okay,
slow
Prabhu.
but
I
sure.
will I will request some other devotee to read, and if not, you can read it. Okay. Thank you. Paramatmananda Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Read. Patience, slow but sure.
Yes, bro. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Patience, slow but true. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and in the beginning there was no response. But because we continued to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they are eagerly participating. While thinking big and inculcating in his disciples his own sense of urgency, Srila Prabhupada was also aware that everything requires gradual development, and thus he advised, organize something realistic and spread, slow but sure. Simply, if you keep on with it slowly but surely, we will become very solidly situated there with many devotees and books and temples. Krishna simply wants to see our desire. In other words, Srila Prabhupada tempered his high energy, expansive mood with realistic, measured patience, knowing well that any good thing comes in our possession after hard struggle and endeavor. Distribution of knowledge takes some time. They, scientists and others, have distributed ignorance by taking time. We have to distribute knowledge by taking time.
Wow. Mm.
He gave various analogies to demonstrate this point. When you speak the truth, there is a small section, and then gradually it develops a seed, and then a big tree, not immediately a big tree. Our progress is slow but sure. When walking down the street, we first place one foot down, and when it is firm, we take another step. It doesn't matter It doesn't matter if things are going a little slow, but make everything slow but sure. This is a good principle. To do things hastily and incorrectly is not good. There is a proverb in Bengali, Shabure mewa fole. Shabure mewa fole. This means
You
that
know what is
all
it?
valuable. Huh?
You know what is it? Of course, it is given, but I'm just
Yes.
asking directly. Sub-
Shabur means patience. Shabure
okay,
mewa.
Mayua means
Meva means I don't know.
okay. Phale means result.
Yes,
Okay,
result.
okay. Read.
This means that all valuable nuts like almonds, macadamias, walnuts, coconut, etc., all take a long time to fructify. Okay. And things valuable takes a little time to come into existence. Therefore, there is no harm in waiting for the best thing, but everything is well that ends well. That should be the principle. He cautioned that rush can lead to regret. Our progress is slow but sure, not that we must do everything immediately and then later on regret it. Hari Das observed how Srila Prabhupada patiently, untiringly imparted teachings to submissive disciples. Srila Prabhupada has unlimited patience in training his disciples. Although he must have given these instructions hundreds of times during the last 10 years, he is still prepared to patiently teach the same things again and again to any new disciple, provided that student has an attitude of humble service and is eager to learn. While setting the example himself, Srila Prabhupada also exhorted his more senior disciples to be patient with newcomers. You cannot expect that they will be perfect all of a sudden overnight. It is not possible. It is very difficult to give up very quickly so many bad habits as you have got in your country, so educate them gradually. First with chanting, and do not be so much anxious to count up so many numbers of new devotees. It may take time, but ultimately the goal will be reached. Never mind, it takes a little time to make progress. Our process is slow but sure, and we are confident that if we continue in this way, we shall go one day back to home, back to Godhead with the vision and confidence that his disciples, from their present position of near barbarians, could become fully pure devotees. Srila Prabhupada exhibited extraordinary expertise and patience in raising them toward that goal. He further employed religious gradualism as an overall policy for uplifting the entire human society, as for instance, in stopping sinful habits of the masses. In the beginning, we are not making propaganda to stop cow slaughter. We are educating people. Don't eat meat. If people become educated, automatically the slaughterhouse will be closed. This is our propaganda. Don't drink. If people give up drinking, automatically the drinking business will be closed. Sacrifice. Tapyante loka tapena sadhava prayaso jana paramar परमाराधनम तद धी पुरुषस्य अखिलत्मना. It is
तपयन्ते लोकतापेन तपयन्ते लोकतापेन साधव प्रायसो जना परमाराधनं तद्धि पुरुषस्याखिलं मनः. Okay.
It is said that great personalities almost always accept voluntary suffering because of the suffering of people in general. This is considered the highest method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is present in everyone's heart. It was only by incessant struggle for the benefit of others by sacrificing his health, comfort, and security that Srila Prabhupada was able to succeed. He even sacrificed the spiritual happiness of residing in Dham and enjoying devotional festivals there, as he wistfully recorded in his diary on 6 March 1966. According to Mayapur Panjika, today is Adivas day of Gaura Purnima. Devotees at Vrindavan and Navadvip are enjoying this celebration. I am here alone without any devotee companion, but I have come here to serve the Lord and not for personal happiness. I am prepared to live in hell even if I am able to serve the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted his mission propagated all over the world, and that is my objective. I do not mind the inconvenience personally felt. Even after accepting many difficulties to see ISKCON established on every
Oh,
previous every continent, Srila Prabhupada never felt that he had done enough and that he could now peacefully retire. Shortly before departing this world, in declining health, he stated, I am just trying to even up to the last moment of my life if I can deliver some good to these people. And Srila Prabhupada communicated this spirit to his disciples. In the words of Harisauri Das, he is not content to sit back in complacent satisfaction, nor will he allow us to either. Tolerating and overcoming difficulties. Disregarding naysayers, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. Srila Prabhupada risked his life and came to America as a lone fighter. From the dangers of the Bowery to San Francisco's renting intoxicated challengers, it is the darkest of darkness. To the mundane scholars, Dr. Frog, and irate parents, modern day Dakshas, from Moscow to Africa and back, he boldly and bravely preached the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shooting rhinos was never going to be easy, and Krishna magnified Srila Prabhupada's greatness by sending him seemingly surmountable hindrances extending over many years. From 1954 to 66, I struggled very hard, alone. Even to reach America took much struggle, and having arrived, Srila Prabhupada went through more struggling alone until finally divine serendipity started to fully manifest. In the beginning, we were very much disappointed for at least 1 year because no one came forth to help this movement. But by the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, some young boys joined this movement in 1966. And when Krishna consciousness started to flourish in America, expansion brought its own problems. Financial needs, governmental restrictions, ignorant and demonic enemies of pure devotion, envy, personal ambition, and disagreements among his neophyte devotees, their struggles and fall downs in the attempt to avoid illicit sex and intoxication, all these and many more problems complicated the preacher's mission. Still, Srila Prabhupada's overall disposition was, I am not a man to be disappointed, and he continued to tackle setbacks and push forward. I have not seen left or right, I have just gone ahead. I practically walked through fire for preaching. Only by accepting tremendous difficulties was Srila Prabhupada able to do what he did. When he had to fight cheaters, adverse politicians, communists, bureaucracy, deprogrammers, legal battles, poor health, criminals, ignorant followers, lack of funds, and so many other advertises, it was only his underrated determination that allowed the successful conclusion of his awesome achievements. The number and variety of issues that he had to deal with would challenge the stamina and skills of the most vigorous young executive, and executive decisions were not even his primary activity. He may often have appeared to be sick, but he never stopped his active life of traveling, writing, preaching, and worshipping Krishna. Very few people, even among those half his age, would have been able to handle the strain of working so hard, traveling continually, overseeing a rapidly expanding movement, and dealing with the never ending follies and fo- foibles of his disciples. What is the meaning of this project? Follies and foibles. Never ending.
This is, I think this is a some phrase. I'll just see. Somebody can check in the internet maybe in the meanwhile. And it's I think Shamkan Bro, do you know what is follies and foibles of the disciples? I think mistakes,
No, but no, please.
never-ending mistakes of it. I
Yes.
think from the context, it is never-ending mistakes. It is something
Mhm.
like their small errors or mistakes which happen to the disciples. Yes, this is the
Mhm. Yes.
yes.
He remained calm and composed, hardly even hinting at the tremendous pressure he voluntarily accepted as an unavoidable corollary of wide-scale, forceful propagation of pure devotional service. As Harisauri Das noted, adversity never daunts Prabhupada. He has firm conviction in his mission and is prepared to fight to establish Krishna consciousness in this God forsaken world, insisting that there is no question of discouragement. He explained why I don't think there is any cause of discouragement because we are working on a different platform. Srila Prabhupada understood the obstacles, but he remained ever confident and instilled the same confidence in others. His unshakable confidence reposed on unquestioning dependence on Guru and Krishna, seeing himself merely as an instrument and therefore held strong amid all failures and impediments. His motto in this regard: when one becomes fixed up in devotional service, he never allows anyone else or any condition at all to hamper his service to Krishna or discourage him in any way. He did not let anything stop his service, neither age nor physical de- debilities, the apathy of his countrymen, philosophical or legal opposition, the good-willed reticence of Sumati Morarji, the objections and bureaucracy of government agencies, or the frailties, failings, and even mutinies of his fledgling disciples. Having spent gallons of blood to bring people to Krishna consciousness, he expected them to expect the same spirit. At Calcutta ISKCON in late 1971, the 30 resident devotees would argue among themselves about money and book and life members and position and behavior. The temple president was preoccupied with running a business and was neglecting the other devotees. The temple was short of funds and the devotees were living under very austere conditions. They never had milk or ghee, mostly just rice, dal, and simple boiled vegetables. One large bodied devotee was feeling so undernourished that when the ghee lamps stopped burning after artis, he would squeeze out whatever little ghee was left and take it with chapatis or other prasada. Arriving
Wow. I don't think anybody is doing nowadays. I was just recently uh, in many temples, wherever I was there, uh, they have this arti. They show the arti to everybody. After that, that big wigs, they just put in that black one thing will be there outside the temple hall. They put it like that. And for at least for the rest, Mangalarti until at least for 45 minutes, that will glow. That will, what is that? That will glow like anything. I don't know whether somebody observed or not. And many times I told devotees not to waste so much of a wig or not to make so much of big wig even during a time. They make so many big wigs and they don't bother at all. And I don't know what temple presidents or temple commanders or what they do. It just burns, and nobody bothers. Everywhere, even in United States, I've seen in everywhere, most of the temples they bake big wigs, and then they just it goes burns. And now here we see that they squeeze out for like chapatis. They don't have ghee for that. Uh, so Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yes, read.
Arriving in this situation, Srila Prabhupada called for an Ishtogoshti to hear the devotees' complaints. He responded not by talking of the difficulties the devotees were facing, but of the attitude that created them. He stressed cooperation, tolerance, and humility, and pointed out that godly qualities would manifest by evoking spiritual consciousness. Only in this way could the devotees transcend the troubles of this material world. He then spoke of the Vaishnava spiritual legacy and recounted how he himself had been through many trials, and he assured the devotees that they also could rise above the disturbances if they practiced clear thinking and imbibed enthusiasm, confidence, and patience. He told them, actually, we should not become too involved in such concerns because our real business is to hear and chant about Krishna. And if we become too absorbed in making material arrangements, we will forget our real business of Krishna consciousness. He went on to say that he never complained because his policy was always everything for Krishna and nothing for me. He related how he struggled to get the passage to America, and then on the way he suffered 2 heart attacks at sea. And after arriving, he continued to suffer in many ways, such as having continuous buzzing sound in his ears and head. I cannot even describe how much I suffered, nor do I want to. Continuing the description, Yamuna Devi related, it was easy for me when I was in Butler, Pennsylvania, and I opened.
No, not there. Sorry. Yes,
Well,
here. Yes, he
okay.
said. He said
And
that.
he said that we were all here because he had followed the instructions of his Guru Maharaj and come to the West. And then he added with great emphasis, do you think it was easy for me to leave India all alone and come to America? And none of us had ever really thought like that, whether it was easy or hard. We had just assumed that he had done that by Krishna's mercy. Then he continued, "Do you think it was easy for me when I was in Butler, Pennsylvania, and I opened the refrigerator and there was cat food next to my vegetables? Do you think that was easy?" And all the devotees almost began to cry because they began to understand what Prabhupada did for us, and it wasn't easy. He came from a place where his mother was carried in a palanquin from one house to the other. He was from another culture, almost like another planet, and yet he came to the West with a trunk full of books and 7 rupees. So he told us to try to just understand that Krishna consciousness will not always be easy. In fact, the opportunity to accept all kinds of difficulties in Krishna's service was for Srila Prabhupada a source of great pleasure. He explained, "Sometimes a representative of the Lord engaged in preaching work meets various so-called difficulties. This was exhibited by Lord Nityananda when he delivered the two fallen souls, Jagai and Madai, and similarly Lord Jesus Christ was crucified by the non-believers. But such difficulties are very gladly suffered by the devotees in preaching, because in such activities, although apparently very severe, the devotee of the Lord feel transcendental pleasure because the Lord is satisfied. Difficulty becomes pleasure due to love. There is no trouble. It is pleasure. Just like the mother takes all kinds of trouble for the little child, but she does not think that is trouble, that is pleasure. When you do something out of love, that is pleasure. That is not trouble. In the transcendental platform devotional service, anything you do, that is pleasure.
Okay, Prabhu. Dutifulness. Duty was a word that Srila Prabhupada often used, and indeed, a firm sense of duty was central to his psyche. As he wrote in 1956 letter, the difficulty is that misguided people are more interested in the matter of sense gratification than in self realization, which is the ultimate goal of life. We have therefore taken up the difficult job to perform, and it is our duty to do it. His dutifulness particularly manifested as a dedication to fulfill the order of his Guru to preach in the West, as he indicated in his prayer to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, penned on board the ship Jaladuta, by including therein a supplication of Prahlad Maharaj to Nrsimhadev, which underscores the priority of service to Guru above all else. एवं जनम निपतितं प्रभवाहि कूपे कामाभिकाममनुयः प्रपदं प्रसंगात् कृत्वात्मसात् सुरर्षिणा भगवन् गृहीतः सोऽहं कथं नु विसृजे तव भृत्य सेवाम्. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of my association with material desires one after another, I was gradually falling into a blind well full of snakes, following the general populace. But your servant Narad Muni kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve this transcendental position. Therefore, my first duty is to serve him. How could I leave his service? Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, Text 28. While still struggling alone in 1966, before there were any indications of the impending Hare Krishna explosion, Srila Prabhupada poignantly cited himself as an example of dutifulness. Here I am sitting in New York, the world's greatest city, such a magnificent city, but my heart is always hankering after that Vrindavan. I shall be very happy to return to my Vrindavan, that sacred place. But then, why are you here? Because it is my duty. I have brought some message for you people because I have been ordered by my spiritual by my superior spiritual master. Whatever you have learned, you should go to the Western countries and distribute. So, in spite of all the difficulties, in spite of all my difficulties, all my inconveniences, I am here because I am obligated by my duty. If I go and sit down in Vrindavan, that will be good for my personal conveniences. I shall be very confident, comfortable there, and I will have no anxiety, nothing of the sort. But I have taken all the risk in this old age because I am duty bound. I am duty bound. So I have to execute my duty despite all inconveniences. Even in the most unfavorable and difficult circumstances, which would have broken the resolve of practically anyone else, Srila Prabhupada remained fixed in his mission. Thus, he was entitled to cite himself as an example when exhorting his disciples to remain dutiful even amid adversity. All along, I have been discouraged in every way by my godbrothers, but still I have stuck to my duty, keeping my spiritual master always in front. If I have understood the order of my spiritual master rightly, then I must perform my duty under any circumstances. Ya idam paramam guhyam mad bhakteshu cha tasman. Oh, Abhidas. Okay. If you want to be really very dear to Krishna, you must preach this philosophy vigorously. Not that I have got it. Who is going to take so much botheration? Let me sit down. Who can be better devotee than Arjuna? He was rather avoiding the botheration. Krishna said, no, you must take the botheration. He chastised him. Kutasva, kutasva kashmalamidam. Rascal, what is this? You must take this botheration. On this principle, at the age of 70 years, I took all botheration. All right, my friends were thinking that this man is going to die and he is going to preach. This laughing. They said like this, all right, I shall die. I shall die for Krishna's cause. So we have to face so many problems, botherations. That is natural. We should not be afraid of this. Anyone who is Krishna conscious, it is his duty to distribute it. It is his duty. I never came here because American boys or people wanted me. They did not feel any need of my presence. But I came here because it is my duty. My Guru Maharaj ordered me. So one may think there is need or no need. It is a duty of Krishna conscious person to spread it. Preaching Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada told, must be undertaken regardless of the outcome. Result, no result. That depends on Krishna. We should not be sorry if there is no result. Never mind. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that I have brought Harinam to Benares, but they are full of Mayavadis here. So if it is not sold, all right, I shall take it back. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 17, text 145, 146. So we should not be anxious whether the things are sold out or not, but we should do our best canvassing work. Please take it. This is our duty. This ISKCON is failing. Hare Krishna. Preaching must be done as a duty, but it is not a hopeless struggle. People may accept or not accept. We should do our duty. But why will they not accept? You have accepted it. You are also addicted to these habits, but you have accepted. Similarly, others may accept. We have to do it. Although receiving little support, Srila Prabhupada stuck to his determination. I have to execute my duty. I am not encouraged by the government, by my godbrothers, and still I have to do this duty. Jayadvaita Swami elaborated on how this sense of duty permeated and informed everything Srila Prabhupada did. Prabhupada showed an exceedingly deep sense of duty. Many times he expressed that he was carrying out his duty to his spiritual master. When Prabhupada conducted a big initiation and everyone was in ecstasy, Prabhupada said, we have increased the parampara from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was a matter of duty. Prabhupada was so balanced. He wasn't carried away by giddy enthusiasm. He wasn't depressed by setbacks. He wasn't depressed by setbacks and he wasn't stopped by anything. He had a duty to perform and he carried out that duty. As a matter of duty, he accepted the personal praise and gifts that were offered to him and offered them to the spiritual master and through the parampara to Krishna. The translating and publishing that he did, his priorities, the way he trained his disciples, was all in line with the duty that he had been given by the spiritual master. And Prabhupada performed the duty with such commitment. Prabhupada was very serious about the duties that he performed. And at the same time, he was joyful. He was jolly. Prabhupada said that the first symptom of a self-realized person is that he is jolly. Prabhupada could tell jokes. He could make plays on words. He could relax and have a good time with with the devotees. And he could be cutting. He would be withering and when he wanted to criticize. He could be sarcastic. He could be insistent. He could be many things, but it was all in line with his duty as a servant of his spiritual master and servant of Krishna. To act out of duty often entails working against one's personal interest or begrudgingly. Such was not the case with Srila Prabhupada, whose heart was one with the Guru, whose orders he took as his life's duty to fulfill. Okay, so we will stop here. We'll meet tomorrow. And if you have any questions, anybody can ask. Otherwise, I'll stop here. One more thing, one important information. Don't just go away. Tomorrow, the timing is changed. At least for every Saturday, it will be 8:30 to 9 for half an hour because I have DT service over here in Atlanta Temple. So I have to attend that. So 8:30 to 9 Indian time. 8:30 to 9 Indian time. So I will post it on the WhatsApp group. 8:30 to 9 tomorrow. And on Sunday, it is as usual 6:30 to 7:20 IST, Indian Standard Time. Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions, you can ask. Else we'll leave. Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. वांछाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यो च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami Maharaj की जय. The mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada की जय. Jai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.